3 p.m. Car local time. You're watching Night TV International live from Cairo. Time for Panorama News. I'm Nasreen. Behaaء will be back with the headlines. President Sisi reiterates to Palestinian President Abbas Egypt's support to the Palestinian cause. Global coronavirus cases surpassed 107 million and 2.4 million deaths. U.S. Trump's defense will make the case for his acquittal on inciting Capitol riot. Welcome back. Time for the news in full. In a telephone call with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi reiterated on Thursday Egypt's consistent stance regarding the Palestinian cause. The president said that Egypt continues its relentless efforts to coordinate with the Palestinian side and the international community to reach a clear vision to push forward the peace process to settle the Palestinian-Israeli dispute based on international resolutions and terms of reference. The two leaders also exchanged views on the latest developments in the inter-Palestinian reconciliation talks. For his part, Abbas hailed Egypt's relentless and most appreciated efforts to support the Palestinian cause. He also said that Cairo's role through history is unchangeable, with the goal of reaching a just and comprehensive solution to the Palestinian cause. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a meeting to follow up the executive situation of a number of projects that are being implemented in the Governorate of Alexandria. The meeting was attended by several of ministers, Alexandria's governor, as well as assistant of the chief of the Armed Forces Engineering Authority. The Prime Minister asserted that the meeting came within the framework of continuous following up of the implemented service and development projects, including road traffic access projects and public transportation, in addition to the development projects for the new access inside Alexandria. He confirmed that these projects are aimed to improve the living standards of citizens as well as provide new job opportunities. And we move to the coronavirus update. Egypt reported on Thursday 603 new coronavirus infections, bringing the total number of cases to 171,993 people. Since the outbreak hit the country in mid-February, the Health Ministry also reported 53 new deaths, bringing the total number of fatalities to 9,857. The ministry added that 376 patients were discharged from hospitals, rising the number of those who have recovered to 133,707 people. The coronavirus cases surpass 107 million and has killed at least 2.4 million people since the outbreak emerged in China in December 2019. The U.S. is the worst affected country, followed by Brazil, Mexico, India, and the UK. In the United States, U.S. President Joe Biden announced plans to vaccinate all Americans by the end of July with the help of 200 million newly acquired doses as the country's inoculation campaign kicked off. A new phase in drugstores and supermarket pharmacies. More details with the following report.
American President Joe Biden announced plans to vaccinate most Americans by the end of July with the help of 200 million newly acquired doses. As the country's inoculation campaign kicked off a new phase in drugstores and supermarket pharmacies, some of which will offer shots as of Friday. Even as the Biden administration inked deals to acquire 100 million more Moderna and 100 more Pfizer vaccines and COVID-19 cases fall in Europe, the World Health Organization warned against rash reopenings in a sobering reminder of the long global battle ahead in taming the pandemic. More than 1 million cases are still registered every week across the 53 member states in the UN agency European region, which includes several Central Asian countries. Biden said that with the latest vaccine purchases, the United States, the world's hardest hit country with more than 470,000 deaths, is on track to have enough supply for 300 million Americans by the end of July. Worldwide deaths now stand at nearly 2.4 million, with the Middle East surpassing 100,000 fatalities. Germany, meanwhile, said it will ban travel from Czech border regions as well as Austria's Tyrol due to concern over new variants. Europe's biggest economy had already in late January banned most travelers from countries classed as mutation areas or places hardest hit by more contagious variants. France's Health Minister Olivier Véran warned of a worrying situation in Moselle across the border from Germany after a high number of South African and Brazilian variants were detected, possibly leading to new restrictions.
Lebanon's Prime Minister-designate Saad al-Hariri said on Friday that no progress had been made in talks to form a new government after months of political wrangling. After his first meeting with Lebanese President Michel Aoun in weeks, al-Hariri told reporters there is no progress in forming the government. Al-Hariri dined this week with French President Emmanuel Macron, whose efforts have so far failed to rally Lebanese leaders to come together to tackle their country's unprecedented financial crisis. And leaving Lebanon to the United States, U.S. House prosecutors wrapped up their impeachment case against Donald Trump with an impassioned appeal to Senate to convict the former president of inciting the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol and bar him from holding office again. More details with this report.
Donald Trump's defense lawyers will make their case on Friday why the former president is not guilty of inciting last month's deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol, as the Senate races toward a final vote in his impeachment trial as soon as Saturday. Trump's lawyer David Trowen said the defense team would take 3 to 4 hours on Friday to lay out its arguments against convicting Trump for inciting the Jan 6th riot, which sent lawmakers scrambling for safety and resulted in the deaths of 5 people, including a police officer. Trowen did not discuss the defense strategy, but Trump's lawyers have argued his rhetoric was protected by First Amendment's guarantee of free speech and that prosecutors had not directly connected the actions of the rioters to Trump. Democratic prosecutors on Thursday wrapped up 2 days of arguments for Trump's conviction, saying the Republican knew what would happen when he exhorted supporters to march on the Capitol as Congress gathered to certify Democrat Joe Biden's election win, and that he should be held accountable for. The Democratic-controlled House of Representatives charged Trump on January 13th with inciting the insurrection, but Democrats are unlikely to gain a Senate conviction and bar Trump from running for office again. Conviction requires a 2/3 majority in the 100-member Senate, which means at least 17 Republicans would have to defy Trump despite his continued popularity among Republican voters. On Tuesday, the Senate voted largely among party lines to move ahead with impeachment trial, even though Trump's term ended on January 20. 6 of 50 Republican senators broke with their caucus to side with Democrats.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said Moscow is ready to sever ties with the European Union if the bloc hits it with painful economic sanctions. Relations between Russia and the West have come under renewed pressure over the arrest and jailing of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny, which has sparked talk of possible new sanctions. 3 European diplomats told reporters that the European Union was likely to impose travel bans and asset freezes on allies of Russian President Vladimir Putin, possibly as soon as this month. This came after France and Germany signaled their willingness to move ahead, and pressure for sanctions has grown since Moscow infuriated European countries last week by expelling German, Polish and Swedish diplomats without telling the EU's foreign policy chief, who was in Moscow for a visit. Paris and Berlin now say there must be a response. Myanmar braced for a 7th straight day of street protests on Friday after Washington announced sanctions on the military that took over power from Aung San Suu Kyi. Tens of thousands of people went out in nationwide rallies demanding the country's military leaders relinquish power. More details with this report.
Supporters of ousted Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi clashed with police on Friday as hundreds of thousands joined nationwide pro-democracy demonstrations in defiance of the junta's call to halt mass gatherings. The United Nations Human Rights Office said more than 350 people, including officials, activists and monks, have been arrested in Myanmar since the February 1st military coup, including some who face criminal charges on dubious grounds. The UN rights investigator for Myanmar told a special session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva that there were growing reports, photographic evidence that security forces have used live ammunition against protesters in violation of international law. The mass protests on Friday were mostly peaceful but were the biggest so far and came a day after Washington slapped sanctions on generals who led the takeover. 3 people were wounded when police fired rubber bullets to break up a crowd of tens of thousands in the southeastern city of My Lai Mine in Myanmar. Red Cross officials told reporters as Washington announced sanctions. European Union lawmakers called for action from their countries, and Britain said it was considering measures to punish the coup leaders. Supporters of Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy welcomed the U.S. sanctions but said tougher action was needed.
On Lunar New Year holidays, Lee Sun-e's Pancake House in Seoul is usually packed with customers while others queue outside. This year, however, the Pancake Alley, where she and a number of competitors run their business, is eerily quiet. Pancakes are a key component of the family dinners that traditionally mark New Year celebrations across South Korea. But coronavirus curbs due to run until the end of the holiday include a ban on private gatherings of more than 4 people and on restaurant dining in the capital after 9 p.m. And these takings are sharply down as a result. South Korea reported 504 daily new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday, bringing total infections to 82,434 and 1,049 deaths. Well, that ends our review of the political events of the hour, and I leave you with my friend and colleague Nirmeen Abdurrahman with more news, business and sports.
Thank you very much, Nusreen. And we are going to start immediately right after the short